Hello again everyone, welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. My name is Mars, and today we are going to be using 25 unique units in 5 different parties to take on the Eggsterminator Eggstraordinaire. It's kind of hard to say. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, this is a brand new trial that is exclusive to the global version of the game that includes a repeating clear sort of structure that gives you different challenge rewards the more times you complete it. And this honestly is so cool. It is so up my alley. The boss is a very cool concept. I love what they've done with it. I love that you are incentivized to repeat it with different units. Basically the perfect piece of content for me. So of course, you know, being a bit of an egotistical person as I am, I had to take in 25 unique units in 5 different parties to kind of show all of the different ways that you can take it on. So we're going to go ahead and take it on in 5 different parties. I'll explain briefly with each of them the builds and units that I used, and then we'll go from there. And I'm going to explain it in very cursory detail because this boss is not difficult. So Charlotte we have equipped with Earth resistance stuff, I think. Yep, a little bit. A lot of people say you need a lot of Earth resistance. I didn't really do that. I just made sure people had like 30% or more. But it's not really required, especially once you get the brakes rolling in. Sylvie's there for Earth Resist, as well as, you know, other Sylvie related things. Myra's there for healing, and it is helpful if you have a healer who does not use white magic to heal, because the boss will counter with self-healing if you use that, so definitely use ability-based healing if you can. But you'll see later we use characters that don't do that, and we don't even use that much healing in some of the other parties as well, so not a deal breaker. We have Edgar for our breaker, and the boss can be fully broken and does not have passive stat buffs like some of the other modern bosses do, so you want to break him as hard as possible, and there's no better breaker out there for that than Edgar. Now we're taking Sylvie as our damage dealer because, as many of you may already know, this boss is resistant 100% to all elements except thunder, and he's only 50% resistant to it. And if I had to critique this new trial, that would probably be my main critique. I wouldn't... It just sucks if you go in with a non-thunder damage dealer and you have downturns where you just can't damage him because an imperil got dispelled or you just didn't have it up. You lose a lot of damage by doing 0 damage on certain turns. So if I were to tweak the boss in any way, you know, for future content, I would say like it would be nice if he had 50% resist to all and was like thunder neutral or something like that, rather than just fully immune to all, you know, with a requirement to impair them. So with that, we're going to go ahead and dive on in. Esther is obviously the best choice for this fight because she's basically built to take him on, but you're going to see in the other parties what it looks like with other units. So let's dive right in. Alright, for the second team we are using Earth Veritas for our tanking. He's got full evade, otherwise he might not do as well at surviving. Aerith for non-white magic healing. Knight Delita is going to be our breaker, and he works really great in this fight because he starts the fight with a limit burst that he can use to break down the boss. And then I have two Sabins here equipped with thunder spears. I would not recommend using elemental weapons unless you have somebody who can imperil thunder by a large amount. So that's what we're running with this team. I'm also running with Sylvie, although she's actually optional with this team. In fact, so optional, I'm just going to leave her home. I hate saying that something's optional and then not doing it, so we're just going to go with super optional. So anyways, this is the party for this fight. One other note is that I have Knight Delita here with a lightning saber. If you hit the boss with a lightning weapon, and I had a lightning weapon on Earth Veritas before, but whatever. If you hit the boss with a lightning weapon after his 50% threshold, he starts breaking himself by 90% in his defense, which makes killing him go a lot quicker. So that's something I'd recommend for people trying to get this cleared. So let's jump on into it. Alright, so for this party, it's going to be a pretty similar sort of idea from the previous party, only this time we're going to be using Zeno of the Beta Star, using non-elemental weapons, because, yeah, like I said, if you're not doing thunder damage and imperiling it by a fair amount, then you probably want to be going non-elemental, so this party will feature that. We're using Lid as our breaker, and Eiko as our healer slash summoner, because instead of evading the big tank breaker attack or re-raising through it, what we're going to use is we're going to use the Esper Fenrir to summon around it, because it can allow you to evade it. So that's what we're going to do. White Knight Noel, of course, is going to be our tank, and Ignis is going to be here for some buffs, and that's about it. So let's dive right into it. So for this next party, we're going to be using Akstar as our damage dealer, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty much the same as with Zeno, where he's going to be using non-elemental damage so that we can kind of ignore those elemental immunities from the boss. We're going to be using Sieghard as our tank, and he's just using a basic draw attacks build with some counter built in. Not much else is going on there. It doesn't really matter. I mean, he's really good for this fight. Fit is our breaker. She's going to do that whole breaky thing. Ayaka's our healer, and Nichol's there for some buffs, as well as to summon Fenrir, who we're going to use to help us mirage the tank buster that hurts really bad. So that's just about it for this party. Let's dive right into it. Alrighty, so this last party that we're using is probably the most unusual one and probably the most replicable one for people who are still trying to build out their rosters. This one's going to feature an Evade Provoke Zargaboth. You could use pretty much any unit that is able to get to 100% resistance and equip the Moogle plushie, and that's pretty easy to do. You can do it with Lightning, you can do it with Chizuru, you can do it with all sorts of units. I'm choosing Zargaboth because he is the best. Marie's coming along with us because she can do some elemental resistance, some ailment resistance. Most importantly, she does earth resistance, as well as some regenerative healing that is also ability based. Chao is here for magic tanking, so this is the first and only party that I'm doing that has split tanking roles with Zargaboth Provoke evading and Chao magic covering, and so he's going to be covering magic and he's got some supporting skills as well. Lauren is going to be our breaker, and that's about all she's going to be doing this fight. And for the damage dealer, we're going to be taking Elesperus because a lot of people have requested some Elesperus content, so what better way to break her in than take her against the Eggsterminator. So yeah, in summary, the Eggsterminator Eggstraordinaire is a pretty straightforward fight. You do want to make sure you have the best breaks possible up on the boss at all times, buff some earth resistance to your party, and basically from there you have all the room in the world to maneuver. I definitely recommend using non-elemental damage if you don't have somebody to imperil thunder by a sizable amount, in which case you can use thunder. And I think the easiest thing for people to do to tank this fight is to take an evade provoker. And that feels a little bit less cheap than using like an evade Sieghard or something like that, because I know some people complain about evasion, but Zargoboth can do it with basically like 4 or 5 equipment pieces depending on what you have available. I think he can do it in as little as 3. One additional pointer I'll leave for people is to make sure that you have a way to be doing thunder damage once the boss is beneath 50% HP, because he does begin to break himself by 50%, or by 90%, sorry. He breaks his defense by 90%, making it much easier to kill him from 50% to 0. And another pointer is to avoid using mages in this fight because he's got such huge spirit. But other than that, that's pretty much all my pointers for taking on this fight. These are the 5 parties and the 25 individual units that I used to take it on, and let me know what you thought of this trial and this particular mode of video. I've never done quite this long and quite this way before, so let me know what you think of it down in the comments below, and I'll see everybody in the next one.